Carolina Fishing TV, showing you how to catch more fish.
Hello folks, welcome to Carolina Fishing TV. Captain Jeff Cronk here. I'm on board today with Captain Rennie Clark. We are in the middle of the winter time. It's been pretty cold last night. Captain Rennie Clark is going to tell us a little bit about what we're going to do today.
We're going to focus on trout, and we've had a lot of cold nights and the wind's up a bit, so it's probably going to be a little murky on the flat, so we're going to target trout, but we might hit a couple docks and see if we can't pull a few redfish out from under some docks.
Gotcha. How, you said it's been a little cold. What were the temperatures down to last night here in Wrightsville Beach?
They were down in the high 20s, and our high today is 47, so we're right now, it's as hot as it's going to get. It's got beautiful blue skies, bluebird skies, so you know, the only thing that's bad is the wind's up a little bit and it's a little cold, but other than that, man, it's a beautiful day.
What's our water temperature sitting right now this morning?
Man, we're looking at 49 degrees right now.
49. How does that affect the trout fishing for? I know we're fishing the winter time. So this is not that fall bite where there's trout everywhere, but what about these winter months like that with temperatures at 49 degrees?
Well, it's better on the rising tide because our water temps in the ocean are about 55 right now down here. So when the tide starts to turn and come in, it kind of, the trout turn on because that's the time that they're going to feed most aggressively. Right now we've got a falling tide, but it's near the peak of high tide falling in the first 2 hours, so it should still be enough water volume from that push from high tide that, you know, the fish will be turned on still. So we'll see what we can do, and you know, it's not like redfish. We're looking for a low tide and you know, a muddy bottom where it's you know, the sun bakes that water. We're looking right now for deeper holes and fishing more constant, stable water temperatures. Okay.
What about the size of these trout? We're sitting in the dead of winter, so are we looking at, you know, big trout everywhere, small trout? Is there a mixture of them? Do you find them in the same areas, or they tend to kind of separate themselves out by size? Or
what we're looking at mainly is small trout everywhere this year, and it's been a rare year because the last 3 years we haven't had a lot of spikes around here. It's mainly been bigger fish, 18 to 23 up to 25 inches is, you know, was common. But this year, for some reason, there's been a good spawn, and there's just spike trout everywhere from 13 to 16 inches, and then occasionally you'll get an 18 to 23 inch fish. But there's been very few bigger trout this year mixed in with the spikes. So it's mainly smaller trout, but they're usually pretty aggressive if you can find them. Yeah,
this is part of what it's about. You know, in the wintertime, it's about dealing with some of this cold weather, getting out there, trying to find some fish, trying to have a good time. So it's not always about, you know, catching that biggest fish. Sometimes it is, and you still have those opportunities as well. So we're gonna hit it today, and we're gonna see what we can do down here out of Wrightsville Beach with Captain Rennie Clark, so stay tuned.
Little fish, pretty little fish.
There's one. You hear that off the drop, about 10 foot off the bar.
Yep.
Very good. Rennie's been talking about waiting for that tide to drop out a little bit in some of these holes. What were you talking about earlier, Rennie, with that?
Well, when these, we're fishing in front of a creek that splits in two spots, and there's a little island, marsh island in front of it. There'll be a big bar, sandbar, almost all the way across this creek in front of us. This fish will push off from this creek where you're fishing now. That's the drop off, and they'll push back into this little pocket right in front of this deep water canal. So tide drops, it'll get better and better in this spot. There.
We just got, it gives them a good current break. Just out of that current and
there he is.
Lay on the edge of that channel. Got another one on there?
Yeah, they're coming out of that creek, man. That little fish. A little bit smaller one there. That's a fish though. On a cold day like this, any fish is a good fish.
What kind of tackle are you using all winter? I mean, what size line are they? I know you got some really nice light rods here.
Yeah, I use these Riley rods, And I also use St. Croix rods and medium light action, fast action tip on each one of these. You can tell that rod there is just,
Oh yeah.
you feel that fish sneezing down there.
Yeah, even with the bow and the line on the braid, you can still feel them hit.
But I'm using 15 test, spider wire and visible braid, the same stuff I use for redfish.
For redfishing, yeah.
It's about 4 test diameter, and then using a 20 test fluorocarbon leader, 12 to 18 inches, depending on if I'm using these micro guides or the standard guides. You can't really reel those knots in on these micro guides.
Right, yeah.
I try to keep it about 12 inches on these. This water's not as clear as it usually is, but it's still clearer than anything else we fished today on Wrightsville Beach.
You start dropping down too light on that fluorocarbon leader, next thing you know you're in the school of reds somewhere, and if he doesn't break you off, he'll cut you off with his fins.
The red?
Yeah, he was underneath that outboard, wasn't he?
Yep. Red. Right where I left it. Hold on. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I just let it sit. I beat this spot.
South Carolina fish.
That's what all these are, South Carolina fish.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would have taken them down
there
there last year. You got one on there?
Yep.
To walk up on somebody's dock here.
Little guy. Little double hookup there, just about back-to-back cast.
I believe that counts as a double. Mine's still in my hand.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I think I could weigh mine in.
Yeah, I think. Well,
even a North Carolina tournament, we can weigh that one in. I wouldn't weigh him in, but
hey, I could weigh this one in South Carolina, 16. Not too bad.
I got you.
Little winter double hookup on some reds.
Tell
you what, a lot of difference in a fighting a 16-inch red and a 16-inch trout.
Oh yeah, isn't it? It's crazy.
Pretty little guy.
Go without hurting him. We're gonna need you in about 2 seasons, buddy.
Yeah.
So we switched up. Rennie took us from some of those creeks just off the ICW. We were catching the small trout back in these little bays, these little coves and stuff, and underneath some docks. And
man, we just pulled those out about 5 or 6 feet on the shelf. It drops off, and the fish are just swimming between these docks.
That's kind of, you know, pretty similar to what's happening by us.
Yeah.
Back around there, and probably most of the coast too. You know, a lot of our upper slot to over slot reds hit that surf, those 23, 24 inch fish on up to 32, 33 inches or so, and some bigger than that pile up on our surf zone, and up and down the whole coast we get these smaller fish, these undersized, and really probably about 22, 23 inch, 24 inch fish on down. They'll seem like groups of them will get in these little back creeks and nooks and crannies and kind of winter over.
Not bad.
A little better trout.
Yeah, a little bit better one there.
Oh yeah. Nice one, about 17 inches.
Yeah, that's a decent trout.
We said we had a couple of hard thumps there earlier.
Yeah, we did. I changed colors and went back to him. Nice one there. Hit the back to chicken.
It's about that the bait, the suspend time on the bait. They can't stand to see that bait hover above their head.
Yeah, this fish here, man, this is a lot more aggressive this time. This fish hit it early in the fall. Better fish. Get a little cold water trout right there.
Ain't a bad one.
Look at that.
They go 16.
Got a little belly on it there. It's a legal fish.
Yeah, 16
Pretty little
inches.
speck. Nice little Wrightsville Beach speckled trout. Got plenty of these things around here. It's just a matter of finding them, especially on these cold days.
Oh, I know this. Well, I mean, you know, a lot of folks don't get to spend much time on the water either. You know, they typically use the same thing. It's just like a lot of people fish the same spot all the time, nowhere else. You know.
Exactly. Well, I told you this spot would heat up at low tide. Another nice little small trout, pretty trout.
Last year's standards, he'd be a keeper.
Yeah, exactly. 12 inches.
Yeah. That's one thing about it, that the rule change with the Division Marine Fishers this year. That's actually going to help on the recreational side.
No kidding.
I don't think the gill nets are catching a whole lot, 12 inchers, but the recreational population, a lot of folks are keeping those last year, keeping those 12, 13 inches. That move to 14 inches is a good thing.
I agree. And we've had so many 12-inch fish this year, 12 and 13. It would have been legal, like you said. And
Oh yeah.
these fish are getting another chance, man, to get bigger. So I agree, man. It's just gonna help the fishery all the way around.
Yeah, just forces some people to fish a little harder and try some different places out. Got one. Try some different places out until they catch a few better ones, you know.
There you go, Joe. The pinky stinky.
Yeah, he hit the gulp stink.
Yeah, that
Small
pink's hard to
one
beat right there. Trout.
Now this one's not like yours, so. If I caught about an 11-inch,
you know,
maybe 10.
Any fish in these conditions, this time of year, I'll take that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a fish that's aggressive enough to bite, man, I'm happy to have him.
You just never know. I mean, it's like where we just came from. I mean, you know, we picked up some pups in there. I mean, actually, one of them was a couple we picked up. One was actually a slot fish, and
Sure was.
And even here, I mean, second cast just now, you put a 16, 17-inch trout in the box, and so you can pick up some better fish mixed in, and you can still pick up a few if you're out to get something to eat. I mean, you can catch a few to eat too.
Yeah.
We've had three trout today and a redfish that were definitely worthy of taking home to eat.
Definitely. Good eat size.
Rennie, this time of the year, you know, ahead of the winter like this cold out, are you fishing any plastics, hard plastics, or mainly soft baits, or?
Mainly soft baits, Jeff. If I'm fishing a flat that I know I've got some finicky redfish, I will use hard plastics like some miradines or rapalas, you know, hard baits, twitch baits that suspend. But for the most part, man, it's soft plastics this time of year because these fish are so sluggish in this cold water. It's just an easy offering, and you put them on a weighted hook or a weightless hook and just let them flutter to the fish.
What about on your soft baits, your jig heads? What size jig heads do you recommend using for folks around this area for depth and whatnot? Different depths and what size you're using?
Well, what we fished today around Wrightsville Beach and the areas that we fished have been about 6 to 10 foot of water. And what I've used is an 1/8 ounce jig head and soft plastic combination. And what I've been using today is the DOA Cal 4-inch jerk baits in different colors. And that 1/8 ounce head is enough to get down to where we're fishing today. We fished the last half of the falling tide. Not a whole lot of water depth. We could kind of work the bait with the current. But if it had been any deeper, we'd have probably had to go to a 1/4 to a 3/8 ounce head.
Yeah.
But today the 1/8 ounce has been a perfect size jig head, and for the most part I try to go as light as possible with jig head. Use the lightest possible jig head I can that can effectively work an area due to current and depth and that sort of thing.
Right, right. A lot of these folks fish in the same depth of water and closer to the inlets, the current would be so strong that you have to use a heavier jig head. But in these places like this, where especially right now the tide's dropping out so low and the water's getting not stagnant, but it's just slowing down quite a bit.
Yeah, it is.
So we can take our time with these baits. And you know, the trout can't stand a bait suspending just over his head.
That is true.
If that's a trout, no, he hit it. A thump and then the bait's pulled down.
Throw it back in there.
Trout. Did that to it. Folded it over. Damn, tastes kind of fishy.
That's that little bit bigger bait, that super fluke.
Yeah, well, it folded over and the hook got the meat of the bait.
Oh yeah.
Hook didn't come through the bait, so.
That'll get you every time. Another one?
You're just pecking at it.
Are they there?
That time hit it.
There you go. Got a better fish, man?
Nah, you know, they're all good fish.
Any fish that
It's just about whether we catch them this year or next year.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's a little shaky, yeah. That's a better fish.
Just under 14 inches, that one.
Good fish.
All right, I'm trying to catch up to Rennie. He's on about 6 or 7 trout now. I think I'm only on 2 or 3.
Good thing about these baits, there's a rigging stem on both ends of these DOA, so it's almost impossible not to rig them correctly. You center that bait perfectly in those rigging channels. Suckers ought to be feeding there.
Yeah, I would think they would too.
Should be feeding up near this grass.
This time of the day right here.
Yeah. There he is.
If they knew how cold it was going to get, they'd be feeding real hard right now, wouldn't they?
Get that trolling motor.
Got it.
Just turn it off.
It's right in there where I had that last strike.
Sure is.
So that's a little better fish, maybe.
I think he's little, but
Small.
hey, I'll take him. The cold weather trout. Small one there.
Between these two docks.
Pretty fish, yeah, right between them. Pretty little fish. One thing you'll notice me and Jeff doing is we're working these baits pretty slow. It's cold and it's getting colder with the sun going down. And these fish are hitting these baits on the paws. So a lot of times when you're not catching fish every cast, you'll want to start moving and covering a lot of water and working the bait too fast. And really that's probably the worst thing you can do trout fishing.
Oh yeah.
Is speed it up. I mean, the slower you move your bait, you're probably going to get a whole lot more strikes, especially you know, when you're fishing harder plastic baits.
Yep.
The key is just twitch it and let it sit. And that's kind of what we're doing with these soft plastics today. I mean, it's cold and it's the coldest the water's been all year here and coldest nights we've had. So, you know, we've just been slowing it down and we're getting these strikes when there he is.
There he is right there.
When they're sitting right on the bottom. And that's
2 or 3 second pause is at least right there.
Exactly. That bait was sitting dead still on the bottom. And these fish will hit the bait sitting dead still. Stink or no stink.
There's not a lot, you know, we're not, you know, early in the season, October, November, there's a ton of bait everywhere. So right now they're limited for what they have to eat, you know.
Pretty big spots for that little fish right there.
You start working the bait past a few of those trout, and even when they don't really want to eat, they get the opportunity here and there. Here near the inlets and all that is closer to the inlets. Some of these creeks have got, you know, a lot of glass minnows occasionally moving through them, but other than that, and a few mud minnows here and there,
yeah,
there's not much else for them to eat down there. So.
And that's what Jeff and I are using, these fluke style lures today. You're using a super fluke zoom, looks like. Is that what that is?
Yeah, baby bass colored super fluke.
And I've been using DOAs, same style baits, and they kind of mimic a glass minnow.
Well, it wasn't too bad of an afternoon. We didn't get on the water till about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Rennie said he wanted to wait till it warmed up a little bit outside. But no, we had a good time today. I appreciate you inviting us on down, Rennie.
Hey, no problem, Jeff. I enjoyed having you guys down here, and you know, it wasn't warmest of days, but we still found a few fish that were willing to bite, man, and that's all you can ask for this time.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we put a good dozen trout and a handful of reds in the boat, and some of those were slot fish, keeper fish, and some are throwbacks, and that's fishing.
What we hit 4 or 5 spots where we found these trout.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just have to move around until you find them. They're here. It's just a matter of finding them and, you know, presenting the right bait to them, and you know, just getting out here is the biggest thing. I mean, it didn't hit 50 degrees today, and we still caught fish.
Yeah, but
it's not miserable.
No, it's not. And I'll be honest with you. If it had been, the breeze is back down to 2 or 3 miles an hour now. If it had been like this all afternoon, it might have been a whole lot more conducive to hitting a lot of these areas we've tried.
Oh yeah, that was the key today, is finding the cleaner water.
Yeah.
As soon as we found the cleaner water, the action picked up, and yeah, we were able to make a good day of it.
Yeah, and you kind of run into a big situation, a problem too, because some of these areas you've mentioned, like you'd like to have the rise in water to fish, but the way our surf zone's been hammered the past couple days, the rise in water gives us this chalked up murky water.
Yep.
And you know, then you've got to fish the falling tide in these places, and the falling tide, it'll finally clear, the water's finally cleared up now that it's dead low water. It's really clear in here. But you know, it's also the opposite tide from which you like to fish some of these areas, so we got to deal with that. You know, that's just part of what you got to throw together.
And you know, the key to what you just said about the rising tide is you know, we've got 46 degree water temperature.
Yeah.
And you know, the ocean is 55, so that rising water, the reason I like it so much this time of year is the water actually warms up when the tide starts rolling in.
You know, we really look forward to coming back down here, you know, later on this year, and especially as the season heats up. And I know you're prepping for redfish tournaments, since you know we'll be competing against each other.
Oh, yeah. Well,
but yeah, you know, and get back down here and all around Wrightsville Beach and Carolina Beach and Surf City and stuff, and look at some more trout action and maybe some flounder footage and a bunch of redfish. And oh,
there you go, buddy.
Oh, bigger one.
There you go. In that same spot, wasn't it? You
On
got
the
my
hotel.
little fish, man.
On the hotel, I pulled them out from under you like that.
No, that's a good one. Yeah, just glad somebody got him. There you go.
He's not that much bigger. He's kind of smaller, I think.
That's all right.
It's the way he turned and ran. It's the way he
Good
turned
way
and
to
ran.
end the day, man.
Well, folks, Rennie will probably pull one out behind me in a minute, but I had to pull in another small one there. Probably about 12-incher that time, but that's okay. It's fun. I must have picked up your rod, Rennie.
Yeah, must have.
Like
There
you're
you
shaking
go.
that time.
Oh, there you go.
Different bait, secret bait.
Yeah. That's why you got him. He snubbed me 3 times before he got you.
That's it. We appreciate you folks tuning in today to Carolina Fishing TV. Stay tuned. 2010. We're going to have a great season this season. We're looking for areas up and down the whole coast. We're going to be fishing from Wilmington all the way up to the Outer Banks and into the Neuse River and Pamlico. So stay tuned this year for some more trout action this winter and hopefully some really good redfish action too.